It was cool in here
Until
until people came in.
yeah. Borrow my fan.
No, you.
Thank you for joining tonight's full council meeting of Wilton Town Council. Just for everyone in attendance, this meeting is being recorded, both audibly and visually, and will be published on the council's YouTube channel in due course after the meeting. Before we start the meeting, I will invite members of the public. You will be able to ask a question in a moment.
No, I don't want to.
Well, before I start the meeting, I'm going to invite members of the public who will be able to partake in public participation and ask the council questions that they would like answered. We'll have up to 3 minutes to do this in a 20-minute period. But before we do that, tonight, I'd like to welcome Mr. Philip Wilkinson OBE, who is Wiltshire's Police and Crime Commissioner, who's going to give us a presentation on the South Policing Hub.
Welcome.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you for the opportunity to be able to talk to you. It is my job to consult with the public and then to set the priorities for Wiltshire Police Force and to hold the chief to account to deliver your priorities. So it's really important that whenever anything significant happens that I consult in order to know what you want your police force to deliver. So I've been in the job now nearly 5 years, and when I took over, Wiltshire Police Force had the lowest rating of any police force in the country. We are now one of the top performing police forces in the country, and we will be able to make a public statement regarding news that I heard this morning from the Home Secretary. But we have managed under the new Chief Constable to deliver all those improvements, although we pay the lowest council tax precept for policing in the southwest, and we are the second lowest funded police force in the country. That is due to a police funding formula that was established by Tony Blair in 2005, which gives a huge priority in terms of funding to urban areas, cities and towns over rural areas. And Wiltshire also suffers one other problem, not suffers, but to our disadvantage. In many ways, it's easy to describe Wiltshire as being like a ring donut around this great big empty massive, which is Salisbury Plain, which is the size of Isle of Wight. It makes it look as if Wiltshire is very scarcely populated, which of course in the ring donut we are not, which means that we do not have a lot of cash. So the improvements that we have made have been significant. I can quantify statistically our financial situation. Although I'm an old skeptic when it comes to statistics, the basic facts are that we receive £249 for every one of you, every resident of Wiltshire. The national average is £317 per head of population. In London, the Mayor of London gets over £440 per resident. If we were funded at the national level, I would have 49.6 million to add to my budget. I say all that because we're going to buy a new policing hub for the south of the county. We used to have a police station at Wilton, as you will well know. That was closed. I really don't know why. But since I've been the PCC, when I started, I initiated a review to try and find a new site for a police station. We looked at 14 sites, and I would personally drive from Devizes and pace out some of these sites. The old GPO depot, for example, but we need at least 4 acres for a proper police station, policing hub. But if we have a custody suite as well, we need 6 acres. Okay, the only sites that were big enough that we could discover were a High Post, And there are some advantages there. Amesbury's growing southwards, Salisbury's growing northwards. They would eventually join around about High Post. But by far the better option is at Old Sarum, at Mitre Way, which is just behind the park and ride, where we can procure 6 acres. I have, subject to planning, purchased those 6.5 acres. Now that gives us the option to have a proper policing hub with all functions underneath it. The problem with Bournehill, there's no security, there's no secure parking, but worse than that, within the building, a council building, there is no specialist areas where we can interview offenders or interview victims such as victims. I discovered we had a rape victim being interviewed in the garden of Bournehill. Totally and utterly unacceptable for those poor victims. So it was, we need a proper policing hub. So we now have the site. We are going through the outline planning process, which means putting something like 33 different reports for everything from bats, biodiversity, net gain, flooding. It's all right and proper, and it's proper planning process. We started early with Wiltshire Council planners. And I have, as part of the consultation, talked to the residents of Laverstock and Fordstead Parish. I've spoken to the councillors. I've spoken to, in this sort of consultation, I've spoken to City Council, their councillors. And we have an ongoing consultation. I spent 4 days sitting in Salisbury Football Club, trying to get people to come and talk. So I need to know what you think. You will see from the little brochure that I produced, or you can go on to Police and Crime, my website. You can see what are indicative diagrams of what we hope it's going to look like. Thus far, we've had no complaints whatsoever. We will, when we get outline planning, then get into the technical consultation in terms of what it's really going to look like and what it's going to, how it's going to impact locally. I'm determined that we will be good neighbours. There will be no blues and twos, sirens and lights flashing until we get out onto the main road on the 345, for example. We will do all that we can to make sure that we are good neighbours, which is the best term thing. So if I can get outline planning, that will, we have to have everything submitted by the end of this month. We will. Then it could take up to 2 years, but by starting an early consultation with Wiltshire planners, we hope it could take a lot less. I would really like to think that we could have a spade in the ground, having designed a police station after wide consultation by 2028. Perhaps have a fully working policing hub by 2030. I will be gone, as you know, PCC's been established. But it's really, I'm really keen that we do that. The land that we have procured is for employment usage. It is, they applied for residential, it's turned down for residential, it's going to be employment. So it could be a factory. But actually having a police station where the coppers behave themselves, your house insurance would be reduced. Hopefully there wouldn't be too much crime. And I think people understand that it's a pretty good option, not just for themselves, but also more widely. Now, there's one other hugely important fact that I need to mention, and that's English devolution. Certainly county councillors will know that devolution could well shape all the local government, the way local government works. So Wiltshire Council could go, Swindon could join a new strategic mayoral authority called Thames Valley. Wiltshire Council could join a new amalgamation with Dorset, rural areas of Somerset, become the heart of Wessex. Whoever decided that name doesn't know the history. The heart of Wessex is Winchester, or even if we go back further, Wilton. So maybe we should build a policing hub here. But with all this reorganisation going around and reform to police forces, if they amalgamate little police forces into big police forces to be overlaid on these new superior authorities, without a proper policing hub south of the 303, there could be no major policing hub south of the 303 and north of Bournemouth and Poole. That would be a disaster for policing nationally. So not only do I think that purchasing this 6 acres, which gives us the option of having custody if we can get the money, if I can persuade the Home Secretary to change the police funding formula. Otherwise, there could be a huge vacuum of policing all the way from 303, effectively south of Devizes and Melksham, where there are policing hubs, all the way to Bournemouth. So the only question I've been asked previously is, what about custody? Of course, we would like to have custody. Can we afford custody? I don't know, but I am keeping that option open by buying 6 acres and not 4 acres. Okay, I need to change the funding formula. Wiltshire Police Force is now, under the leadership of Catherine Roper, doing more with less than any other police force in the country. We cannot sustain this level of performance if we take 25 bobbies of all police staff off the beat. And that's what it takes to run a custody suite. We've got 2 custody suites, Melksham and Swindon, which is more than a lot of other counties. Dorset's got 3, they closed 2 in winter, and then we have 1 that's open. Gloucester only have 1 custody suite. On average, it's 1 custody suite per 500,000 people. We've got 2 for 750,000 people in Wiltshire. I know we would like more, and I'd love to have it. And if I could change the police funding formula so we are funded to the national average, we could afford a new police station and the staff to man it without reducing the numbers of coppers who are on the beat, who are now delivering to a level we've not delivered before in Wiltshire. Okay, so that's my pitch. My wife is really keen that we have by the Old Sarum site, because there's an old people's home there, and I think she wants to park me in there and say you can walk to it. But anyway, so comments, questions.
I think it's really important that we have something closer than Melksham. Having a young teenage son who's familiar with the police, I really think we need something nearer, and the custody suite would be a very much wanted idea by me.
But right now we can't afford it. If we could, if we took 25 bobbies off the game. So which is most important? It's going to be a finely judged decision. But I'm working on changing the police funding.
Yeah, I'm just adding. Going across to Melksham and Swindon to a custody suite, is that not effectively the same as taking 5 bobbies off the beat when they're all going over and coming back, or simply not doing any arresting because they don't mind to drive across?
It's not the same. We have prisoner escort officers who are not bobbies on the beat at the moment, but we pay them a significant amount. It's an external contract. I take your point that we would love to have a custody suite, but that will eventually come down to what the Chief Constable tells me. She will make the operational decision and I will support it. But right now she is saying she'd rather have 25 bobbies on the beat than custody, and I will support that decision. Melksham is some way away, but other counties manage.
Are we able to use other counties?
We've
Closer distance wise?
Or is that the nearest? So that's either Newbury, Reading, or Bournemouth, or Cheltenham.
So no closer.
Yeah, sure. So basically, I've gone for the whole lot, and it's going to be 1.5 million. That will be all the surveys, all the protocol and the land. So the cost of building the station without custody, we've estimated right now would be 26 million. I think it'd be, with inflationary pressures, probably more, like 30 million. Additional custody would be something like another 10 million on top of that, and then the offices.
1.5 for your land.
Later on in this meeting, the council is having to chase its tail on a number of items that, like remembrance garden and the toilets. You're having to chase your tail on something that shouldn't have been done 10, 15 years ago. And I have my sympathy. I was at the meeting when your previous PCC said that they were going to close and sell Wilton Police Station, Wilton Road Police Station, which was totally ridiculous. And I'm sure everybody, including you, would agree. You also dealt with the fact that there won't be a custody suite, or there will be like policing south of the A303 if there's not a hub here. And I believe that that means that Wiltshire and Salisbury particularly will be south, as it sometimes seems to do in Wiltshire. Is there a danger that if you don't accelerate your plans, that the Wiltshire, Primus et Optimus, will not survive and will be subsumed by other counties and will not therefore get the hub? So the sooner the better in this.
It's really important. That's why I'm pushing it. And in many ways, why I'm spending half my time fighting this government and about a number of issues. One is devolution. I think it will be a disaster. So put rural counties into large strategic mayoral authorities. That might work when you have a big grouping like Manchester. But, it will be a vast area. If you think, we have a police force that has to cover from the M4 to the South Coast. I mean, some of the police reform makes huge sense. So, I've been doing this sort of stuff for a long time. Standardizing systems, policies, procedures, procurement, vehicles makes huge sense nationally. It would be like when I commanded a regiment going off and buying a radio that couldn't talk to the regiment next door. The police have been doing that for years. It's bonkers. Now, we need to rationalise all of that, but operationally, demand needs to be bottom-up driven. The police are the public and the public are the police. You should be telling the police, and that's what my role is, what they should be delivering, but they're going to get rid of the PCCs. And probably, I don't know if you saw, there was a report came out on Monday by Lord Plunkett looking at the level of competency of senior police officers at the COG level. It was hugely damaging. Right now we have 43 police forces. There are 10 chief constables being investigated for gross misconduct. It is shocking. Take away the PCC. Who is going to hold them to account? The Home Secretary is far too far away to do that. It needs somebody representing the public to hold the police to account. So there are lots of things going on. Also, Wiltshire Police Force, and it will come out on Thursday, just how much of an improvement we've made. The smaller police forces deliver so much better than bigger police forces because they're detached. Look at what's happening in the Met. Look what's happening in Manchester. Look what's happening with Police Scotland. Policing is not working at that level. Policing needs to be locally driven. What is the only thing that's going to stop this current government is going to be a general election. And I'm prepared to talk to anybody to try and shape the strategic environment post general election, because we don't really need to expand Wiltshire Police Force. We need to structure policing differently. So we standardise systems, policies, procedures. Operational policing is best delivered by small police forces. So no, there isn't. So there's lots going on in the political environment, which I'm sort of doing everything I can to try and manage.
Is it fair comment to say that Wiltshire Police, like Wiltshire Fire Brigade is underfunded.
hugely. Yeah, I mean, they are in the same position as we are. And obviously I'm working with them as well. And if, you know, this government has got some great aspirations, but we know that if you don't get the ways and means in place, if you don't resource, you know, I'm being told by the police minister, we're going to do all this reform, and I say, well, where's the money? Oh, there's no money for it. And I can say things like, well, we all need to have pathetic things like we all need to have new buttons on our uniforms, won't we? Yeah. At least, let alone new cars, let alone a rationalisation of these things. But also then think, how do we rationalise what you pay on your council tax? We currently pay, because I'm a tax, we pay the lowest precept in the South West. They're going to tell everybody, we're going to add 50 quid on your precept to standardise it to pay for these bigger police forces, because they're not going to give us any money. It's not a pretty place at the moment where I'm working at the political level, but Wiltshire Police Force is keeping its head down and doing its job and delivering.
Like all uniforms, we make it happen. So, just on the flip side, sorry, with the, obviously it's a lot of hurdles going through at the moment, but on a positive note, clearly we get the location, we get the, sort of like everything what we want. Will that increase employment for the local areas with civil service slots? Will it mean we'll be told to more police officers on the ground, boots on the ground? Does that come with it, or we just make do what we got so with the custody and that? Sorry.
We are constantly, as you would expect, you're ex-military.
Yeah.
Yeah, we are constantly reviewing our operation models to make sure we are using absolute best use of scarce resources. So we're just restructuring again how we deliver local policing. We will not be increasing the numbers of staff that we've got, because we've got enough at the moment. And of course, we are really pushing hard with technology. There are a lot of technical silver bullets out there that we are using to improve how we manage the data which comes in. You know, I remember going to the call centre and, you know, there was information coming in on one laptop, and the person who was taking the phone calls then had to type it onto another laptop. It's like, what? You can, you know, just connect the two and transfer the data and save a huge amount of time. There are a lot of efficiencies that we can take which will improve policing. The one that I'm working on at the moment, which is for much greater use for drones. So, for example, we're just about to start a trial to put a drone in a box on top of the fire station in Swindon that we can lift off from the control centre and immediately see what the incident is, to decide then time spent on records never wasted, to know what resource levels we need to deploy. At the moment, we tend to scramble every copper, and it might only be a minor incident. If we can have eyes on an incident within seconds, which we can do, we have a drone, we lift it off, we can see what the drone is seeing, and then we deploy the resources. It's all stuff I'm taking from the military in Ukraine.
Yeah.
Any final questions? Anyone on Teams? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. It is all on my website. Any comments, questions, please feed them in and we will come straight back to you with an answer. At the moment, it's all pretty generalised stuff, but downstream, after you've had outline planning, when we get into the detailed planning, you will see exactly what we are proposing, and then you can be more precise in your comment. So thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chair.
Can I just say I'm recording the meeting before we have the
Thank you. On to public participation. So there's 20 minutes now for members of the public. I can start by taking questions from the room, please.
Mr. Mayor, I'm sure that there are a lot of people who worked hard at the Parliament, who's some sitting here. I'm so pleased to see that the Mayor and Corporation didn't wear their cloaks, because it would have been rather. But it was a really good day, and I'm sure that the council will congratulate you. That's your comment. My question is, I have seen some coloured lines being stuck down by the roundabout and in this area, which suggests that there's going to be some roadworks or some looking for drains works or whatever it might be works. It's a bit worrying when I see about 5 different colours of dotted lines on pavements and in the middle of the road. Does the council have any news of what that might be about?
Thank you.
Not specifically on the coloured lines, no, but we can investigate